Hello, everybody. Today, let's take a glance at the Florida governor's race and see what's going on. Now, the primaries are all the way in August, so we've got a lot of time. But this is a pretty significant state. It's drifted far to the right over the past decade, and it is an open seat. You can see here, Democrats have not won a governor's race here since 1994. So Ron DeSantis is going to be out, and Republicans, they've got to find a new candidate. Now, the one that's been in this race the longest is Byron, congressman. It seemed like, and it still does, that it's his race to lose. He already got the Trump endorsement a long time ago. He's made a name for himself. He's been on all the media, but he's not running unopposed. A couple of other candidates here. Jay Collins, he's the new lieutenant governor under DeSantis. He's in it. Most of the few things I've heard about Collins tend to be controversial, but it's also the same thing with the other candidate here, James Fishback. He's young, he's not in politics, but it seems like there's even more controversy with Fishback. You might like him and view him as an outsider, but it's hard to believe that Donalds could actually blow this much of a head start. Now, one other thing we've got here is potentially Casey DeSantis. That's the wife of Ron DeSantis. There's been so much talk about maybe she'll run, maybe not for a long time. So far, she hasn't got in. She still could, but it seems unlikely at this point. If she did, though, that would probably be the biggest threat to Donalds. Now, in the endorsements here, Donalds has a ton of them. He's loaded. Fishback, he's got a few. The one of note here is apparently Tucker Carlson. There's a debate here coming up on July 21st, and then take a look at this polling. Donalds is in the lead, but he's kind of all over the place. He tops off at about the mid-40s, and if you go back to last fall, he's kind of in the same position, 40%. So he hasn't made a ton of progress, still a big chunk of undecideds, almost half of them. So anything could change, but with the other candidates, mostly in single digits, Donalds should be able to win. There's a lot of time left. The thing that would have made it more interesting, as I said, would be if Casey DeSantis challenged Donalds. This polling from last year shows it going back and forth. But if you take a look at the market here for this nomination, Donalds is ahead with 82%. So that's a distinct advantage. Fishback is at 11%. So for a while now, I've assumed it's Donalds, and that's not going to change. Now let's take a look at the Dems. As much as it's an uphill climb for them, they're going to be in this thing. It's an open seat. It's a blue-leaning environment. It's not impossible they could pull something out if everything lines up. So the two candidates here are Jerry Demings. Now that's the husband of Val Demings, and she ran against Rubio in 22, and she lost pretty bad. But he's got the law enforcement background. He's a significant mayor. Maybe he ends up doing something. But right now, the frontrunner here for the Dems is David Jolly. Now, if you're anything like me, you might confuse him with Charlie Crist. Both of them, former Republicans, both of them represented the Tampa area in Congress. In fact, Crist succeeded Jolly. But then they both left the Republican Party and eventually became Democrats. Now, after Charlie Crist did that, he had no success except for running in the U.S. House. And he was also a governor at one point. So David Jolly is on that exact same path. And apparently he's the front runner. If you go down here, we've got the endorsements. Demings has some, but Jolly has a few more. And the polling here, it's not overwhelming, but Jolly's in the lead with 31%. Still a plurality, undecided. Now, Demings is not in single digits. He's getting into the 20s now. But if you take a look at the market for this race, Jolly is at 64, Demings is at 25. So closer than the GOP, but still a clear lead there for Jolly. So that could be something to watch later on. I'm not sure how Jolly is going to be that strong of a candidate in the general. I guess his appeal is going to be because he used to be a Republican that might play well in the suburbs or with more moderate voters, but it didn't work for Charlie Crist. I don't know how it's going to work for Jolly. So after the independent candidates, the general election polling here, Donalds is nowhere near 50%, but the Democrats are also not even into the 40s. There are a couple of polls here that do show Jolly in the lead. One of them is from his own campaign. But this state has really drifted a lot redder. A lot of people moved in. And if you're in doubt, let's see what the markets show. Here, Republicans are at 84% favored to win. Dems are at 18. So again, not impossible. The Dems could pull something out if everything lines up just right. But at this point, they're not looking good at all. Now, one last thing we could do is go back to 2018. That was the last time the seat was open. It was also during Trump's first term, and it was also a blue wave. That was Ron DeSantis against Andrew Gillum. Now, first of all, in the primary, Trump did endorse DeSantis. That boosted him. He eventually got the nomination. That was probably one of Trump's single best endorsements of all time. It led to the rise of DeSantis. He won a significant state, and DeSantis ended up proving to be popular, at least in Florida. But here's the general election polling for back in 18. And you'll notice that Andrew Gillum, the Democrat, was ahead in almost every one of these polls. The final one from Trafalgar did have DeSantis up by 3, but pretty much all the other ones showed Gillum ahead by 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 points. So the safe bet was this state was actually going to go blue in 18. If you go all the way back to the beginning of the polling, still DeSantis trailed in nearly all of them. The final results, though, DeSantis pulled it out with 49.6. It was only a lead of about 0.4%. The polling there was off. It underestimated DeSantis. It overestimated Gillum. So that was a huge deal at the time. When Dems were having success during that blue wave, Republicans were making gains in Florida with the governor, and in the U.S. Senate, they flipped that seat. Who knows what would have happened if the Dems had won this? They could have easily lost 4 years later, we'll never know. But right now, this state does look like it's fairly cemented in Republican hands. But at the same time, neither party should ever get complacent when they think they have a lead. It's especially true when you're more than a few months out from an election, especially from a primary. A lot of times people don't pay attention until the final month. So even though we know Republicans have made big gains here in this state, it doesn't mean that Democrats shouldn't at least try to run a great race, and Republicans can't completely phone it in or have any notable scandals. So definitely some action to look at on both sides of the aisle for Florida governor. So that's a glance at where things are at. Let me know in the comments. Is it definitely going to be Byron Donalds for the GOP? What about the Dems? Is David Jolly the guy? And how strong would Donalds be in the general election? What would it take for this state to become truly competitive? Let me know what you think down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.